courtyard,
courtyard,
courtyard, courtyard, courtyard.
courtyard, courtyard, courtyard.
I love perfumes. Every morning when my girlfriend and I come down to the courtyard in our block of flats, we're assailed by the most delicious scent.
I love perfume. Every morning when my girlfriend and I come down to courtyard in our block of the flat, we are assigned by the most delicious second.
I love perfumes. Every morning when my girlfriend and I come down to the courtyard in our block of flats, we're assailed by the most delicious scent.
I love perfume. Every morning when my girlfriend and I come down to the courtyard in my block of the flat, we are satisfied by the most delicious scent.
The couple took a stroll out in the courtyard.
The couple took a stroll out in the courtyard. The couple took a stroll out in the courtyard.
Then they leaned the chariot against the end wall of the courtyard, and led the way into the house.
Then they leaned the country against the end wall of the courtyard, and led the way into house.
Then they leaned the chariot against the end wall of the courtyard, and led the way into the house.
Then they leaned the chariot against the end wall of the courtyard, and led the way into house.
Aim.
Aim.
Aim. Aim. Aim.
Aim. Aim. Aim.
You're never too old to start learning, and you're never too young to aim high and achieve great things.
You're never too old to start learning, and you are never too young to aim high and achieve great things.
Let's aim to double our profits next month.
Let's aim to double our profit next month.
The aim of life is self-development. To realize one's nature perfectly.
The aim of life is a self-development to release one's nature perfectly.
Stable.
Stable.
Stable. Stable. Stable.
Stable. Stable. Stable.
There is nothing so stable as change.
There is nothing so stable as change.
The latter did not seem very stable.
The latter did not seem very stable. The latter did not seem very stable.
Sometimes this world was so steadfast and stable.
Sometimes this world was so steadfast and stable.
Giggle.
Giggle.
Giggle. Giggle. Giggle.
Giggle. Giggle. Giggle.
Perfect happiness is a beautiful sunset, the giggle of a grandchild, the first snowfall. It's the little things that make happy moments, not the grand events.
Perfect happiness is a beautiful sunset, the giggle of the grandchild, the first snowfall. It's a little thing that makes a happy moment, not the grand event.
The children giggle as their teacher does a silly dance.
The children giggle as their teacher does a silly dance. The children giggle as their children does a silly dance.
General.
General.
General. General. General.
General. General. General.
Liberty cannot be preserved without general knowledge among the people.
Liberty cannot be preserved without general knowledge among the people. Liberty cannot be preserved without general knowledge among the people.
We made a general plan but didn't talk about anything specific.
We made a general plan but didn't talk about anything specific.
I remember now that the general was called Ernest. I knew I had some particular reason for disliking the name.
I remember now the general was called Easton. I know I have some particular reason for disliking the name.
Cloak.
Cloak.
Cloak. Cloak. Cloak.
Cloak. Cloak. Cloak.
It is better to be violent, if there is violence in our hearts, than to put on the cloak of nonviolence to cover impotence.
It is better to be balanced if there is balance in our heart than to put on the cloak of the non-balance to cover impotence.
It is better to be violent, if there is violence in our hearts, than to put on the cloak of nonviolence to cover impotence.
It is better to be balanced if there is balance in our heart than to put on the cloak of the non-balance to cover impotence.
His cloak was too long and dragged on the floor behind him.
His cloak was so too long and dragged on the floor behind him.
I was dragged toward the little red light, and then I saw that I was in the hands of a man wrapped in a large cloak and wearing a mask that hid his whole face.
I was dragged toward the little red light, and then I saw that I was in the hand of the man wrapped in the large cloak and wearing a mask that hid his whole face.
Heavily.
Heavily.
Heavily. Heavily.
Heavily.
Heavily.
Heavily.
Heavily. Heavily. Heavily.
Because my early music was heavily produced, people assume my voice was also heavily produced.
Because my early music was heavily produced, people assume my voice was also heavily produced.
We watched out the window as the snow fell heavily outside.
We watched out the window as the snow fell heavily outside.
Fatigue bore so heavily upon Becky that she drowsed off to sleep.
Fatigue bore so heavily up to Becky that she drove off to sleep.
Tool.
Tool.
Tool. Tool. Tool.
Tool. Tool. Tool.
The trust of the innocent is the liar's most useful tool.
The trust of the innocent is the liar's most useful tool.
I didn't have the correct tool at home and had to go to the hardware store to buy it.
I didn't have the correct tool at the home and had to go to the hardware store to buy it.
His few common tools and various scraps of leather were at his feet and on his bench.
His few common tools and various scraps of leather were at his feet and so his bench.
Fork.
Fork.
Fork. Fork. Fork.
Fork. Fork. Fork.
The shorter the chain between raw food and fork, the fresher it is and the more transparent the system is.
The shorter chain between raw food and pork, the fresher it is, the more transparent the system is.
I used a fork to eat my salad.
I used a fork to eat my salad.
She brought a silver fork and spoon, which she placed on the table.
She brought the silver fork and spoon, which she placed on the table.
Stiff.
Stiff.
Stiff. Stiff. Stiff.
Stiff. Stiff. Stiff.
Our employers today face numerous challenges and stiff competition from businesses all over the world.
Our employees today face numerous challenges and stiff competition from businesses all over the world.
My back felt very stiff when I woke up.
My back felt very stiff when I wake up.
Their long beards were thin and stiff.
Their long breath were thin and stiff.
Mass.
Mass.
Mass. Mass. Mass.
Mass. Mass. Mass.
We are living in the beginning of a mass extinction and our climate is breaking down.
We are living in the beginning of the mass extinction and our climate is breaking down.
There was a mass of paperwork waiting for me on my desk when I came back from vacation.
There was a mass of paperwork waiting for me on my desk when I came back from vacation.
Terrify.
Terrify.
Terrify. Terrify. Terrify.
Therapy, therapy, therapy.
I want to do things that terrify me, unless they're going to kill me.
I want to things that terrify me unless they are going to kill me.
Small spaces terrify me.
Small space terrify me.
Those beautiful vessels, robed in purest white, so delightful to the eye of freemen, were to me so many shrouded ghosts, to terrify and torment me with thoughts of my wretched condition.
Those beautiful vessels, loved in permanent white, so dilatory eye of the prison, were to me so many short ghosts to terrify and torment me with the truth of my wretched condition.
Bind.
Bind,
Bind. Bind. Bind.
bind, bind, bind.
The practice of charity will bind us, will bind all men in one great brotherhood.
The practice of charity will bind us, will bind all men in one great brotherhood.
The farmer used a rope to bind the bales of hay.
The farmer used a rope to bind the bales of hay.
My sister and I, you will recollect, were twins, and you know how subtle are the links which bind two souls which are so closely allied. It was a wild night.
My sister you will recollect it, were twins, and you know how subtle are the links which blend two souls which are so closely allied. It was a wild night.
Dash.
Dash,
Dash. Dash. Dash.
dash, dash, dash.
I was built for the long run, not for the short dash, I guess.
I was built for the long run, not for short dash, I guess.
The runners dashed towards the finish line.
The runner dashed toward the finish line.
Cut, cut, was the cry from the ship to the boats, which, for one instant, seemed on the point of being brought with a deadly dash against the vessel's side.
Cut, cut was the cry from ship to the boat, which for one instant seemed on the point of being brought with the deadly dash against the vessel's side.
Split.
Split,
Split.
split,
Split. Split. Split.
split, split, split.
We all have split personalities, we all wear masks at some point in our careers.
We all have split personality. We all wear masks at some point in our career.
The man used an axe to split the wood in half.
The man used an axe to split the wood in half.
You'll have a splitting headache tomorrow, if you drink much of that.
You will have the split headache tomorrow if you drink much of that.
Produce.
Produce,
Produce. Produce. Produce.
produce, produce, produce.
Those who do not want to imitate anything, produce nothing.
Those who do not want to imitate anything produce nothing.
The farms produce enough food to feed the whole community.
The farm produces enough food to feed the whole community.
I will not say that this most horrid murder produced no sensation in the community.
I will not say that his most horrible murder produced no sensation in the community.
Pinch.
Pinch,
Pinch. Pinch. Pinch.
pinch, pinch, pinch.
Our incomes are like our shoes, if too small, they gall and pinch us, but if too large, they cause us to stumble and to trip.
Our income are like our shoes. If too small, they gall and pinch us. But if too large, they cause us to stumble and to trip.
Pinch the dough together with your fingers to seal it.
pink the dove together with your finger to sleep steadily.
I'd be so afraid it was all a dream. Then I'd pinch myself to see if it was real.
I'd so afraid it was all a dream. Then I'd pinch myself to see if it was real.
Hum.
Hum,
Hum. Hum. Hum.
hum, hum, hum.
I don't even sing in front of really close friends. It's embarrassing. I don't really sing when I'm alone, either. I just hum enjoyably.
I don't I don't even sing in front of the nearly crowded plan. It's embarrassing. I don't really sing when I alone either. I just hum enjoyable.
The girl smiled and began to hum her favorite song.
The girl smiled and began to hum her favorite song.
Savvy.
Savvy,
Savvy. Savvy. Savvy.
savvy, savvy, savvy.
Musicians are, by and large, not the most politically savvy crew.
Musicians are by and large, but the most political savvy clue.
The savvy businessman invested his money wisely.
The savvy businessman invested his money wisely.
Splash.
Splash,
Splash. Splash. Splash.
splash, splash, splash.
There are people who can achieve huge success in life, while adding a bit of fun and a splash of color to this increasingly gray world.
There are people who can achieve huge success in the life while adding a bit of the fun and splash of the color to this increasing gray world.
The little boys splash each other in the pool.
The little boys splash each other in the pool.
The floor of the torture chamber had itself become a regular little lake, in which our feet splashed.
The floor of the torture chamber had itself become a regular little lake, in which our feet splash.
Amaze.
Amaze,
Amaze. Amaze. Amaze.
amaze, amaze, amaze.
The capacity of young people to persevere, even under the most adverse conditions, never ceases to amaze me.
The capacity of the young people to preserve, even under most adverse conditions, never ceases to amaze me.
The beautiful view at the mountain peak never fails to amaze me.
The beautiful view at the mountain peak never fails to amaze me.
Choke.
Choke,
Choke. Choke. Choke.
choke, choke, choke.
Art is like breathing for me. If I don't do it, I start to choke.
Art is like breathing for me. If I don't do it, I start to choke.
Chew slowly so that you don't choke on your food.
Chew slowly so that you don't choke on your food.
So much vapor and terrible voices came out of his throat, that I thought he would choke with vexation and envy.
So much vapor and terrible voice came out of his throat that I thought he would choke with the vaccine and envy.
Soap.
Soap,
Soap. Soap. Soap.
soap, soap, soap.
Soap and water and common sense are the best disinfectants.
Soap and water and common sense are best disinfectants.
Soap and water and common sense are the best disinfectants.
Disinfectant, disinfectant.
She used soap and water to clean the dishes.
She used soap and water to clean the dishes.
He then donned his waistcoat, and taking up a piece of hard soap on the washstand center table, dipped it into water and commenced lathering his face.
He then donned in waistcoat and taking up the piece of the hard soap and the washstand corner table, dipped it into water and commercial landed his face.
Desert.
Desert,
desert, desert, desert.
desert, desert, desert.
If you don't die of thirst, there are blessings in the desert.
If you don't die in the thirst, there are blessings in the desert.
We saw camels out in the desert.
We saw camel out in the desert.
She was so pitiless that she took poor Rapunzel into a desert where she had to live in great grief and misery.
She was so particular that took poor Debris into desert where she had to live in great grief and misery.
Cotton,
Cotton,
cotton, cotton, cotton.
cotton, cotton, cotton.
I have cotton or flannel sheets, depending on the weather.
I have cotton on planet sea, depend on the water.
The shirt is made of cotton and might shrink when you dry it.
She shirt was made of the cotton and might shrink when you dry it.
Century,
Century,
century.
century.
Then, in this, the 21st century, we must be determined that our dream of quality education for all will also come true.
Then, in this, the 21st century, we must be determined that our dream of the quality education for all will come true.
The war happened over a century ago.
The war happened over a century ago.
Your father, a man of the last century, evidently stands above our contemporaries who so condemn this measure which merely re-establishes natural justice.
Your father, a man of the last century, eventually stands above our contemporaries who so condemn this measure which majorly re-establish natural justice.
Introduce,
Introduce,
introduce, introduce, introduce.
introduce, introduce, introduce.
Creativity is the ability to introduce order into the randomness of nature.
Creativity is the ability to introduce order into randomness of the nature.
I would like to introduce you to my family.
I would like to introduce you to my family.
He took him with him wherever he went. He even introduced him to the foyer of the ballet.
He took him with him whatever he wanted. He even introduced him to be forever of the ballet.
Exist,
Exist,
exist, exist, exist.
exist, exist, exist.
The path from dreams to success does exist. May you have the vision to find it, the courage to get onto it, and the perseverance to follow it.
The path of the dream to success does exist. May you have the vision to find it, the courage to get on to it, and the resolve to follow it.
She believes that aliens don't exist.
She believes the alien does exist.
A bond seemed to exist between us.
The bond seems to exist between us.
Horn,
Horn,
horn, horn, horn.
horn, horn, horn.
I play piano and drums very poorly and French horn and tuba all equally as bad.
I play piano and drum very poorly and French horn to tuba all equally as bad.
Rhino horn is often traded illegally and used in medicine.
Rhino horn is often traded illegally and used in medicine.
Declare,
Declare,
declare, declare, declare.
declare, declare, declare.
You can't just declare that you have a growth mindset. Growth mindset is hard.
You can't just declare that you have growth mindset. Growth mindset is hard.
They will declare the winners of the lottery on the news tonight.
They will declare the winner of the lottery on the news tonight.
He declared that a whale must be near. Soon that peculiar odor, sometimes to a great distance given forth by the living sperm whale, was palpable to all the watch.
He declared that while a whale must be near, soon the particular odor, sometimes to a great distance given forth by the living sperm whale, was palpable to all the watch.